So just to give you in this first class a little bit of a rundown of how I teach, how I approach teaching, and how I approach this series. This is a short time we have together. It's just, 30 minutes. So I intend to start each class with just an introduction, a little time to gather and arrive for you to settle in and get comfortable. I will talk a little bit about a contemplative topic. These topics will center on mindfulness and compassion, which are two of the sort of big pillars of mental health and wellness when it comes to contemplative mind and living. And then we'll move into a practice. I anticipate practices will be somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. I intend to make them accessible for anyone who's here at any level of meditation practice. And then we'll have time at the end to answer questions. You're also welcome to just share your reflections and experience during that time. It's kind of a nice way to harvest and share about your practice. So that's that. Pretty simple. I want to say that I encourage us all to approach this with a sense of ease, a sense of relaxation. I think when we think about meditation, sometimes the image or feeling that can come to mind is this like straightening up and like getting ready to calm the mind down, and it's really serious work. And in some ways it is serious work, but I invite us all to bring a sense of lightness and ease to it and really invite our bodies and minds into those 10 or 15 minutes into a space of rest. Like, this is a space to rest. It's a space to relax. And sometimes we do need to kind of nudge the mind a little bit, use a little bit of, tough love to get it to come into a state of rest. But the quality of our practice is really important. So I invite you to just set an intention for yourself that feels good in terms of how you want to approach this class, this series, and these practices. So I'm just going to jump in then to today's topic. I'm going to give just a couple minutes talk on what mindfulness is and how we can use it to kind of come into more of an ability to inhabit our lives more fully. This is a concept that I pull from Sharon Salzberg and her insight teachings. And she really likes to talk about how mindfulness is not just the practice on the cushion, but it's a practice in being able to come into our moment to moment experience in a non-judgmental way, in a way that cultivates and deepens our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our lives, and our relationship with others. She also talks about how the quality of our attention directly correlates to the quality of our lives. So when we work with sort of training our minds and training our attention to, say, attend to physical sensation in the body or attend to the breath, these are typical mindfulness practices. We're supporting ourselves in cultivating an ability to just build up a better quality of life because our attention is such a precious resource. And so this is a bit of what we'll be practicing in the mindfulness practices in this series. And then the compassion practices as a sort of extension of mindfulness will bring in even more of the quality of care, the quality of warmth, the quality of tenderness that we're trying to cultivate in order to develop a more friendly relationship with ourselves and our practices and the loved ones in our lives, and hopefully our greater communities. So that's my introduction to mindfulness. And I think next, I'd like to just introduce our practice for the day. And just as a recap, our sort of broad definition of mindfulness that we're going to be working with is a non-judgmental awareness of our moment-to-moment experience. And the key word being non-judgmental. And so this relates to the quality of care that we're also bringing into the practice. Today, I think we'll do a practice that just gets us familiar with sitting or lying or standing in meditation. A bit about that. I want you to always take good care of yourself in this practice. Take good care of yourself and your body. If you want to sit, sit. If you're unable to sit for whatever reason, you're welcome to lie down. If your mind feels like it's racing and you need to kind of stand or you need more of that energy, you're welcome to stand. Make this accessible for you. Sometimes it's just about removing the barriers to practice, and we want to meet ourselves where we're at. So take good care of yourself with your posture. Another important thing, I tend to close my eyes during practice. You don't have to. This is just something that helps me go inward. If closing your eyes doesn't feel accessible or safe for whatever reason, just let yourself have a soft gaze at some point in front of you. And yeah, give yourself that spaciousness, that care. And that's it. You always have choice. I offer practices as a sort of guide. I'll be guiding you through something. If something doesn't feel right for you, you're always welcome to pull back to maybe one of the first steps that we did. That might just be feeling the contact points between your body and whatever surface is supporting you. It might be focusing on the breath if we're going deeper into visualization practice, which we are not doing today. So you always have choice, and I'll try to remind you of that throughout the practices. Okay. So I talked a little bit more today than I probably will in the future, but I wanted to give a nice introduction to this series. Again, welcome, welcome, welcome. And yeah, without further ado, just choose your comfortable posture for today, and we will start the practice. I am going to be starting us off and ending us with the sound of a bell. So you can allow that sound to be your signal to kind of settle in. And then at the end, it's your signal to come back into our shared space. So finding your comfortable position. Again, it might be seated, it might be lying down, it might be standing today. Just kind of attuning to what your body might need or want in this moment. Allowing the eyelids to soften closed if that feels good for you. Otherwise, allowing them to rest in maybe a half open gaze on a point in front of you. Just allowing the body to kind of settle into itself, reminding yourself this is a small pocket of time for your body and mind to just rest, to be taken care of. And starting to notice the contact points between your physical body and whatever surface is supporting you. You might feel feet on the floor. You might feel sits bones or the backs of the legs. Perhaps there's something behind your back supporting you as well. Just allowing yourself to feel almost like the energy of the earth itself just rising up to support you. To help make this space for you to rest. And there's no need to perform, no need to create an experience. We're just coming into contact with exactly what is in this moment. You might sense the temperature of the room around you, perhaps a sense of warmth where your clothes or a blanket is touching the skin, or a sense of coolness where you feel the air, the space around you. And then noticing in your body any points of tension or where there might be contraction or holding. If you're seated, are you leaning forward in an effort to concentrate? What might it be like to just kind of sit up and relax a bit? Is there a furrowing at the brow or tension in the jaw? Can you soften in the shoulders? Maybe even allowing the shoulder blades to drop down the spine like pieces of ripe fruit hanging from a branch. And just getting a little bit familiar with the experience of our physical body. And then as you continue to settle in, becoming aware of your natural, spontaneous, organic breath, the rise of the inhale and the falling away of the exhale. No need to change or control anything, just allowing the breath to be as it is. And remembering you always have choice if, for whatever reason, focusing on the breath feels uncomfortable, perhaps going back into body sensation. But if it's okay for you, continuing to just soften into the rhythm of your breathing. And that slight expansion on the inhale, and that sort of deflating, that falling away, that relaxation on the exhale. And we like to hold our focus, our attention in a way that's not too tight and not too loose. So just noticing if you feel like you're kind of holding on really tight to that focus, or if your attention feels kind of loose or fuzzy, and just making adjustments as your body and mind instruct you to or invite you to. Tracking each inhale and each exhale, awake but relaxed. A quality of mindfulness, a quality of care. As you familiarize yourself with your moment to moment experience through the rise of the inhale and that falling away of the exhale, and just allowing your mind to kind of rest and ride this rhythm almost like a boat on the ocean. You're just gently riding the waves just as they are. And if your concentration has been sort of centered in one space, maybe you were most focusing on the sensation in the nostrils or the rise and fall of the belly or the chest. Wherever you are, I invite you to just zoom out a bit and kind of be with this global awareness of the whole of your breathing body. So, continuing to allow your breath to rise and fall, but just noticing that your body as a whole is breathing. Even if your posture might be quite still, noticing how there's still some dynamism, some movement, in this ongoing exchange between you and the space around you. Awareness of your breathing body as a whole. And anytime the mind feels kind of wild or the attention wanders to a thought or it gets caught up on a thought train, anytime you notice that, doing just that, noticing, like, aha, that's a thought, or my attention, it kind of wandered. And just leading it back to your breathing body, to awareness of your breath, almost like a loving sort of caretaker of a new puppy kind of leads the puppy back. If it wanders off, its attention excited about something else. No need to judge or criticize, just leading it back home. In this case, home to the breathing body and awareness of your breath. Noticing if you've kind of accrued any tension in the body, again, trying to focus if there's a furrowing at the brow or any sort of like leaning forward, just seeing if you can maintain this sense of attunement and attention to the breathing body while softening those spaces of contraction. Taking these next couple of minutes to continue to soften, to relax into your practice, giving your mind the space to rest, resting with the breath, each inhale and each exhale, resting with the breathing body, the quality of warmth, the quality of care. Knowing that each time your attention kind of wanders and you notice it and bring it back, it's almost like doing a push up for the mind. You're strengthening your quality of attention. You're building your strength, your care. We'll take just one more minute here. Mindfulness of breath, mindfulness of breathing body, giving yourself space to rest. Savoring these last few moments of our practice for today. And as I prepare to ring the bell, and as you prepare to bring your practice to a close, just noticing any shift that you feel, however subtle, and the quality of your mind, your body, your energy. And if the shift is imperceptible, that's okay too. If it feels good to seal your practice with a gesture, I invite you to maybe bring palms together at heart center. Could give yourself a little hug. You could gently kind of press the hands on the tops of the legs or a space of earth like floor in front of you. Just finding some way to seal your practice. And at the sound of the bell, coming back to our shared space. Okay. So taking your time to come back, and coming back, it doesn't mean you have to turn your camera on. Just means we have a few minutes left to kind of close our session. So take your time. You can move, you can stretch, get a sip of tea or water, coffee. Yeah. So this practice is really kind of the essence of any sort of mindfulness practice in terms of the qualities that you can bring. It's this getting to know the present moment as it is. And we start with body sensation and breath because that is happening in the moment, as humans. But other things happen in moments too, right? Thoughts can come up, emotions can come up. And as we go through this series, we'll be working kind of more with the subtle aspects of our present moment awareness as well. So I'll open it to questions. We have a couple minutes. You're welcome to type a question in the chat and or unmute. Or if you raise your hand, I know that me or Elaine can certainly unmute you. Any questions, reflections? I see in the chat. Thanks, Lisa.
Alexa, is there any magical number of minutes that one could meditate for?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Elaine. I will say that Eastern wisdom traditions and neuroscience research says the same thing, which is it's better to do something short with greater frequency than try to like sit for an hour once a week, you know? So start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes is fine if you're brand new, if it feels like a lot, or 10 minutes. Our practice, believe it or not, was like 15 minutes. It was 15 or 16 minutes. So you can see if you really take your time kind of dropping into it, that the minutes go by. And I take my time with transitions. But I would say if it feels like that was a lot for you, just set a timer for 5 minutes. If it felt okay, then do 10 minutes. Yeah, and try 10 minutes every day or 3 times a week. But just start to kind of build that. And again, it's about removing barriers to access. So if something feels a little bit cringeworthy, like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that, then don't. Then just start with something smaller. I'm looking at the chat. What to do about yawning? Oh, John. Um, yeah, so yawning happens. There are different explanations for this. Sometimes it's just the brain kind of wanting more oxygen, or it's a sign of relaxation. So I wouldn't say there's anything to do about it. Let your body do what it needs to do. If you need to yawn, burping is also a thing that can come up in meditation. This is sort of the upward wind coming up. That can come up, but don't hold anything back, I would say. A challenge to keep my mind focused, but I hope that will get better. It will, Barbara. Yeah, it's about the practice. How do you keep your random thoughts from intruding into your practice? Doreen, great question. So contrary to, I think, what some folks are initiated into in meditation, it's not about stopping our thoughts. I mean, we have a mind. A mind thinks, it has thoughts. That's what it is. When thoughts come, it's about neither like pushing them away or deeply investing in them, but it's like noticing them. And you could even put a label on it like, oh, thought, or if it's a feeling, even, oh, worry, or futuring, or memory, and kind of let it go. One image that is often used to guide people in that is imagining it's like a cloud drifting through the sky, where we are the sky, like our awareness, that spacious kind of nature, clarity of mind, and thoughts are clouds or leaves in a stream, like in the fall, New England fall, the leaves kind of falling and then dropping into a stream, the mind stream, and just go let them go downstream. If the thoughts are really challenging, like if they're truly aggravating thoughts, opening the eyes or like doing more sort of conscious breath practice, like really focusing on sensation of the breath or even taking a break is advised. But it's okay that there are thoughts, is what I'm saying. And in my practice personally, the approach I take is to just let them be. So if I notice a thought, I'm like, okay, that's okay. There's a thought. I have a mind that thinks. I'll just let it be over there or do its thing, but I'm going to return my attention to the breath, or I'm going to return my attention to whatever my focus is. But the psyche doesn't like it when we try to push things down or push things away. So it's about letting it go or letting it be more so than trying to stop things. But yeah, random thoughts will happen, a lot of them. If anyone is interested in knowing more about offerings and such, basically everything's on my website. It's just myname.com. But yeah, I'm teaching this series, and I also teach a by donation class on Mondays with Nalanda Institute, and I have an upcoming training in May on compassion. But I'll be back here also next Thursday. So if anyone has questions, you can just reach out.